Jones, Pro Football Hall of Famer, top 100.
Tyler Lockett from the Seattle Seahawks.
DK Metcalf from
Hey, Burleson, you're watching NorbCam.
NorbCam. You're watching NorbCam.
Hey guys, happy Blue Friday to all of you. This is NorbCam coming at you live here from Seattle, Washington. A little bit different tone on this particular live video here as I got a little technical thing I just realized I need to fix here, but the tone of this is a little bit sad in the sense that, well, as you see in my title, it is related to the coronavirus, and you know, as the days go by, I am slowly becoming more and more affected by it. Not directly, fortunately for our family, but I'm finding out from more and more people who are. And that applies to some relatives that I have over in the New York side of the world, which is one of the places hardest hit by the coronavirus. And you may have seen my interview that I did with a newfound, I call him my relative. We technically have the same last name, and we discovered each other just a couple weeks ago and had a nice conversation of kind of getting to know this potentially long-lost relative that I haven't seen in a while. But I'm talking about Chris and Charlie Kawili. I'm going to bring them on right now from New York City, and there they are. Charlie and Chris, how you guys doing?
Doing well. How are you?
Doing good. Now, the last time we talked, we were in the earlier stages of being in lockdown and all that, but you guys were fine at the time. Since then, I understand that you and your wife, Chris, and Charlie is your son, Chris, that you have come down with the coronavirus. Tell me a little bit what happened from the last time we talked to where you came down with it and kind of where things are at for you right now.
So I was cruising along just fine up until March 22nd. That was a Sunday, I believe. And I work nights. I went to bed in the morning. I woke up in the afternoon, and I had 101.3 degree fever, the body aches, and I knew something was up. So I just muscled through the day, and I had to call in sick to work. The next day I went to my doctor, and he was pretty certain I had it without doing a test. The tests were hard to come by. His office didn't have them. So I was stuck in bed. I was out of it. My wife spent a good deal of the day trying to get me an appointment to get tested. So that Monday I got tested. The governor had set up. There was an 8-hour wait on the phone, 480-minute wait on the phone to get an appointment.
Jeez.
So we skipped that, and we found a private practice, and we were able to get an appointment about 45 minutes away. So I had that test, and the results came back about 24 hours later. And that was just shocking because, you don't. I just thought I had the flu or something, But at the test, they gave me the flu and strep test first. That came back negative, and then they said, "All right, you can have the COVID test." And as I'm sitting there, I'm thinking, "Wow, the flu and the strep came back negative. I mean, what else could all this body ache and headache be?"
Mm-hmm. So, and you were preparing. So you went under quarantine for about the 2-week period, right? So at that time.
Right.
You were already, your family was already staying isolated and everything. So you were kind of, how was that like? Were you basically in a room by yourself? All the rest of your family was kind of separated? How
exactly.
Did you guys?
I stayed in the master bedroom. It has a bathroom, and John and the kids would drop food off to me. I didn't really come out of the bedroom for a solid 10 days. And then somewhere in that 10 days, we found out Jonna had it too. So we had crossed so many different lines as far as the quarantine rules. I let myself out of the room, but not outside as much.
Yeah. So then, during the course of that, your wife then got affected. So how did you guys find that out?
So she was curious that she might have had some symptoms along with me or right before me. and she decided, she was able to get the test for me, and I think the test became more readily available. So she scheduled a test. I think it was about halfway through my quarantine, and then she found out she had it as well. And then, as far as our quarantine within the house, we had crossed so many lines. As far as, while I was quarantined in the master bedroom, Faith and Charlie were sleeping in the same room downstairs for most of the time I was quarantined. So it got a little funny as far as how to quarantine. We just decided we'll just keep it within the house, and that was it. And fortunately, neither one of my kids have any symptoms. And my severe symptoms only lasted about 4 days, and then they got better after that. But the headache lingered on for a long time. And then it would just come back. I didn't have the cough that everyone. There's a dry cough that's always listed in the symptoms. That didn't come for me until this past Saturday. And it seemed to happen only in bed. I would go to bed coughing and then wake up coughing, but once I got out of bed, I'd be fine as far as the cough goes. And then all the symptoms seem to come and go. They're really, after the initial 4 days of suffering, all the symptoms, the headache, seem to come and go.
So it never got to the point, obviously, where you needed to go get medical treatment, and your breathing never got to that point of having labor, just being able to breathe.
Constantly, yeah, right. I was constantly monitoring my breathing. There's definitely a scratchiness in my chest that comes along with that cough, but no difficulty breathing. I'm in relatively good shape. I never had like a really bad wheeze or anything like that. I was constantly monitoring that. My doctor prescribed that hydrochloroquine and the Z-Pack that you hear about. So I have that on hand. It wasn't easy to get, but I have it on hand now. And the plan was it has some serious side effects. So I was waiting, trying to hold off on that, and I haven't been able to so far.
So I have a couple of people asked in the chat. So if he's infected, why is your son sitting right next to you? I was actually, when we first got online before the broadcast, I asked you the same question, because right away I'm thinking social distance violation. What's happening here?
I know.
So how do you answer that? The fact that you even said in your house you kind of crossed some of those quarantine lines, and to preface that by saying, it's hard enough to stay, maintain social distancing out and about. I think that's relatively easy, but when you have to actually maintain a separation of not just social distancing, but quarantine within your own living premises, it would be very hard to do. The fact that, you're all in the same house, to be able to keep things completely separated would be a challenge. So how did you guys, how did you handle that? And obviously you guys are sitting right next to each other. So what's your, how does that work for you guys?
Yeah, I knew that was going to be a question. We like you said, we had crossed those lines probably 10 days ago when I, not knowing Jana was infected. She was sleeping with Charlie and taking care of them around the house, not knowing she already had it. So we had already crossed those lines. And it's from what I understand, very seldom does it affect under 14-year-olds. So felt a little bit more comfortable with it. And like I said, we crossed those lines so long ago. Wasn't when the symptoms were bad, but it's been a challenge. During the quarantine, I'm always chewing on this guy's cheeks and being dad. So it was really hard. It was funny. I thought to myself, I'm in the same house as these people. I can't really have any contact with them. It was tough during that time, more than you would think, I guess.
Yeah. So hey, Charlie, I want to hear from you. So how has it been for you? First of all, when you found out your parents came down with the virus, what was your reaction? Were you scared? Were you like, they'll be fine? Or what was it for you? Because, I know that for me, if I found out, one of my kids or my wife had it, I'd be a little bit freaked out. I was curious, how was your reaction when you found out your dad and your mom had the virus?
Well, it wasn't that bad because we already got the strep test, so and it was negative, and so I thought she was gonna have it, and then it came back positive, so I was not that surprised when it happened.
But you weren't too worried? You were okay that your parents were being all right? 'Cause I know New York's bad right now, so How about your sister?
Were you scared for me?
No.
No? He was all right. He knew I was going to be okay.
Well, I'm guessing too that given your line of work, can I mention what your line of work is without saying too much detail? Okay, so Chris is a police officer, been a member of the New York NYPD for a while, and now in a different location. But I'm imagining that your son, probably knowing that your dad is a police officer, you probably have to deal with the fact that your dad's probably at risk a lot during the course of his life. So maybe it's toughened you up for a while to think, he's dealt with a lot tougher things than this. Is that true, Charlie?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
How about your sister? How has she been handling all this?
She was okay. She just didn't do anything.
She's just driving you crazy.
Yeah.
They're just driving each other crazy, being cooped up at home, doing the homeschooling thing.
Yeah. Well, I was going to tell you, I have not mentioned this to you yet, but I was going to mention it to you and the listeners at the same time. So I have family actually here, over there in the New Jersey area, not too far from you guys. And my cousins, actually, I have some cousins who work they're nurses. And one of them, she actually came down with the coronavirus because she was working with a lot of patients who were sick and some who had died during the process of all this. She not only contracted the virus, but she also is pregnant. And so she got hospitalized. And so she has been in the hospital for a few days, and I just found out this morning that they had to do an emergency C-section. She wasn't due yet, but I think out of precautions, it's still a month away from her delivery, but they actually did an emergency C-section to take the baby out now. I think as a precaution in case things progress worse, they wanted to make sure that the baby would be okay. So this is just the latest that I found out this morning. And it's tough because, she's and they can't visit her. She can't. I don't even know if the baby can be around her if it's in ICU. But can you imagine going through that? You have to be alone delivering your child. You can't be around your child. You can't be around family dealing with what she's going through and the birth of her child. It's just. And she's one of those people on the front line. Been one of the people who are fighting this battle are the nurses, the medical people, and she was one of them. And now she's on the receiving end of that because of what she had to expose herself to. So my obviously fears and thoughts and prayers are with my family there, and hopefully things will turn for the better for them. But it's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking to hear these stories, and this one hits pretty close to home, and closer to your home, as it turns out, over there in the New York, New Jersey area. So, it's a bizarre time right now.
I'm so sorry to hear that. The amount of human suffering altogether, between the physical suffering of the coronavirus. And then you see the thousands of people who are dying in New York City, and the bodies are in temporary morgues, and they're not able to even have a normal. It's bad enough to lose a relative or a loved one, and then you can't have a normal wake and funeral or whatever your custom is. So, I think about that all the time. Every time I see it, how much, people aren't going to be able to have closure. They put in pause on even funerals, for that matter, right now. And I'm so sorry about your cousin there, man. I have two sisters who are nurses. One's in New York City and one's up closer to me.
How are they doing?
So they're doing all right. It's a lot of. I think it's just a lot of. It's intense at work. Work got really intense for both of them. Not that it wasn't before, but it's just really intense.
Yeah, I can't imagine, and that's why whenever I feel like complaining about whatever we're going through, I stop and think we could be one of those people who are on the front lines having to, your job is to go into the worst place to be, which is around infected people, and try to do what you can to save their lives while putting your own life at risk. And I think, man, hats off to those guys for what they do, because it would be tough to get up every day, which I'm sure they're just probably tired, exhausted, drained, and yet they push on, because without them, we'd be in big trouble. So, they're the ones putting up the good fight. So anytime myself or for you guys out there watching, when you think you've got it bad, remember, yes, this is really weird, tough times for everyone, but it could be a lot worse. There's someone who's got it worse than you. So count your blessings, make the most of what we can do with this time that we got. But again, can't say it enough. We just got to practice those safe social distancing things so that we don't further spread this out to people who, are going to be vulnerable to it. So, that's kind of the repeated message everyone's had. And I'm glad you guys are doing all right. It sounds like, I don't know, Chris, so what's the situation now? Do you have to be under quarantine for another 14 days? Or what happens since you got retested and found that you had it again?
So it's going to be another week. I'm going to go for another test in a week, which I thought that a third test for one person I thought was a lot, but that's the deal right now. I'm going to go Tuesday and get tested again. I'd like to. I'm the only one where I work that has it right now, so I would really like to know that I don't have it when I go back. I don't want to spread it to anybody. I work with people who have wives who are pregnant and things like that. No matter how safe I am, I just don't want there to be any doubt.
Sure.
And the one other symptom I didn't mention, I lost my taste completely. Couldn't taste or smell at all.
I heard that. That was one of the side or symptoms of that. So you could still breathe through your nose, but you just couldn't smell or taste anything?
Right.
Wow.
I mean, morning cup of coffee. I noticed John had made dinner one night, and chicken cutlets or something. I was like, I didn't taste a thing. Not a thing. And no matter whether it's, we had some Indian food, tried that. No, I can't smell a thing. Can't smell or taste a thing. I think it's slowly coming back, just barely. I mentioned it to my doctor. He said that you're part of the coronavirus. It causes your brain to swell, and it affects that nerve.
Wow. That's got to be bizarre. I know there have been times when, if you have like a really plugged up nose, if you can't breathe through your nose, you can't really taste anything. But to have your nasal patches completely clear and just not be able to taste anything it's hard to imagine. I guess it's a good time to try some new stuff that you might not like, because he won't taste it. So. But yeah, wow. Yeah, I guess that is.
Yeah, a lot of junk food. I can't taste the chips. We had ice cream the other night. I was like, this is useless. Save the calories for later.
Yeah, maybe good for the diet, so you won't be intrigued to eat as much junk food because it doesn't really taste any good. So on a lighter note, guys, what are you guys doing to pass the time? We're all trying to find things to do. We have kind of our ritual of things, but trying to make the most of this slow down home time that we got. What are you guys doing? Charlie, let's start with you, since you've been the quiet one over there. What are you doing for the most part to pass the time during the day? And I gotta before you answer that, I gotta reintroduce, for those of you who don't remember or didn't see the interview I had with them last time with Charlie and Chris. Quick story. So Chris and Charlie, their family they're native New York, raised in New York, but they've been trying to convert Charlie into a New York Giants or Jets fan, obviously, since they're from there. But apparently Charlie discovered my YouTube channel really got into it, and because of that, he is now a Seahawks fan. Charlie is a Seahawks fan living in this New York City household. So I'm so proud of you, brother. So Charlie, what have you been doing to pass the time? Any NorbCam videos that have been helping keeping you, entertained during this COVID crisis? What have you been up to?
Yeah, a lot of NorbCam videos. We watch them in the car.
You watch them in the
to him in the car.
Nice.
We're all singing NorbCam videos. They're all stuck in our head.
Did you see my coronavirus video?
Yeah.
Yeah, with my little Justin Bieber parody. Well, I appreciate that, you guys. It's nice to know that I'm
Hey, listen, we don't have any Seahawks flair yet. It's coming, I'm sure. We're new to this Seahawks game, but these colors are no accident.
Well,
colors, no accident.
They're getting there. They're not quite the right blue yet, but you're on the right track. That looks more like Giants blue, to be honest with you. But we got to get you a little bit more in the color scheme. But I like your green.
Is that allowed on NorbCam?
That Chris, that green shirt you're wearing though very closely represents the Seahawks light, lime green accent color. So I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that part. Yeah, I understand. You're supposed to get a Russell Wilson jersey at the end of this year, isn't that right, for the holidays?
Yes.
I think it's
That's still the plan. All right. Well, now the big question is, talking getting off topic a little bit and talk a little bit about football. First of all, we don't even know if we're going to have a football season at this point. I think the plan is that we will until they say we won't, for whatever that's worth. But I don't know. What's your take on it? I mean, you're there in the heart of things. You have a different perspective on it. What's your take? Yes or no? Are we going to have a football season that starts on time, or what do you think we're going to have in 2020?
I certainly hope so. I certainly hope so for the economy and overall, but I think we're gonna have to wait and see another 30 days or so, and see how things are going as far as how it's spreading, and I hope they can get some sort of a season. As for MLB and all the other sports,
yeah.
But I don't know. What are your thoughts? Do you think they're going to be able to do it? It's kind of far. Well, getting close.
I've been trying to imagine, what's life going to be like just returning to normal. In here, school has been canceled for the rest of the year, so we will not have the remaining part of the 2019 school year. That's pretty much been written off, other than what they can do online. But they won't see the inside of a classroom till at least September, or late August. Our volleyball season has pretty much at this point been suspended indefinitely. I'm pretty much accepting the fact that we will not play another match for the rest of the season, which is really sad, because right now we'd be in the peak of volleyball season with all kinds of playoffs and nationals around the corner and all kinds of travel. We were supposed to go to all different places, and that all got shut off and probably won't return. So we can only hope that things will kick back up in the fall, but still hard to imagine us just returning completely back to what it was before, where we're all just like, okay, party time, everybody, let's all get hugs and high fives, we're all good. It's just hard to imagine going that extreme from black to white, you know what I mean? And I feel like it's going to be like how 9/11 sort of changed the world, where it wasn't quite the same after that. Air travel was not the same after 9/11. I feel like after Corona, that social interactions are going to just be a little bit more regulated, a little more monitored, I think, because this isn't going to disappear off the face of the planet. It's just going to maybe be a little less intense, is what I'm understanding. But it's not going to just go away like, hey, it left, we're all good. Let's just go back to the way things were. So I don't know. I feel like being way too optimistic to think we'll be totally back to normal in September. I would love it to be, but I just feel like it won't, that it's going to be something different. Maybe they'll, like, as far as football is concerned, maybe they will play the games, but maybe we won't be going to them. Maybe it's going to be just the players, assuming everybody's, not carrying the virus. But I don't know. I hope I'm wrong, but I've stopped trying to get my hopes up on it because I feel like we're in for this for the long haul. So
yeah.
But
It's
hey,
going
Charlie,
to be interesting.
yeah. Charlie, let me ask you. So going back to football a little bit, I don't know if you've been keeping up with the latest. Jadeveon Clowney seems like he's now talking to some other teams. Word is that he may not be coming back to Seattle. They're way too far apart in the numbers. What's your thoughts on what's happened this last few weeks and the current situation with Jadeveon Clowney over with the Seahawks? What do you think about all this?
Well, I don't think he's gonna come back, but I really want him to come back, so maybe he will come back. But I don't think so.
You don't think so? Where do you think he'll go? It sounds like the Browns are interested. Even I think the Jets were in the conversation, and the Tennessee Titans. Our Clowney might end up with your New York Jets of all places. Well, you're a Giants fan, right, Chris? You're a Giants fan. Or was it it's your father-in-law? Or was it your father-in-law who's a Giants fan?
Yeah, I'm a New York fan. I'm such a mild football fan to begin with. So yeah, if either New York team's doing well, I'm happy. And I think we're about to hop in with the 12s, man.
Okay, all right. Well, that would be cool. We'll always appreciate. There's always room on the bandwagon. So. You guys going to be Chris? You're going to be or Charlie? You're going to be watching the draft. However, it looks like this year it's going to be something different than what we've seen before. But the draft will go on. So,
yeah, that's interesting. It's all for a non-sporting event. It's I think they'll be able to get it. They'll be able to pull it off pretty well. You're not going to need. You just have the commissioner do his announcement, and he'll probably be virtual or whatever it is, and then
he'll be in his bathrobe or pajamas at home. That's what Roger Goodell should be, in his bathrobe announcing the pick. I think that would be pretty cool. Since he's going to probably be doing it from home. But I said this on an earlier broadcast. I said this is probably the best thing for Roger Goodell, because for the first time during the draft he won't get booed. So he's actually coming out ahead in this game. So hey, tell me what are you guys? I know you're playing a lot of basketball, but you guys have got to be watching some TV. I'm imagining. I know we are. We're having like movie night every night these days, which is great because we never had time for that before. So, what's your favorite show? What are you guys watching? What have you discovered over the last couple of weeks? Something that stands out. It shows that if people are asking, what's the best thing you've watched during the quarantine? Your answer would be what?
NorbCam.
I didn't pay him to say that, by the way.
Hey, listen. So, Norb, listen to this. Charlie's got a little YouTube channel. He puts some of his little videos up. So,
I didn't know that.
I'm
Okay.
goofing around with him the other day, snooping in on his business. I watch his video. It's only a 2-minute video. Maybe I'll send it to you. At the end of the video, he says, he doesn't say like and subscribe my video. He says, go to NorbCam and like and subscribe NorbCam's videos.
What? Really? Oh man, Charlie, you're too kind, but I appreciate that though, man. That's awesome.
But I don't know if this happens to anyone else, but you sit down with Amazon movies or Netflix, and I wind up spending 45 minutes to an hour trying to find a movie. And then we need to find something that the whole family can watch. So we wind up either with some old throwback movie or we're watching Back to the Future or something, I know is nice and safe. And then we like Chopped. We like the cooking shows, Chopped and American Pickers, and not too many movies. We do intend to have movie nights, but it usually gets derailed by trying to figure out what to watch between all four of us.
that takes some planning. It's like, because you can spend a lot of time just trying to figure out what you want to watch and then debating about it and then never getting anywhere and wasting precious time. So I always try to yeah, it's good to figure out those things out in advance and have a plan. But sometimes even the best laid plans go awry. But there's a show that I think this my kids, or we all found together. It was actually recommended by a friend of mine, but it's a good kind of. Charlie, how old are you again? 10?
Yeah, 10.
10. Okay, so you're on that borderline. Depending on how much you let him watch. But there's a show on Netflix called Lock and Key, and my kids loved it. It's my youngest daughter, Vanessa's favorite show now, and they only have one season. It just came out, and it's really good. It's one of those movies that's right on that borderline to where it's like not quite on the edge where you got to be a teenager or older to be able to watch it, but it just lands in that area where it's got a little suspense, a little kind of mystical stuff, a little teen drama. Some language, but it's relatively mild. So with parents' discretion, I think it could be something that maybe your kids would enjoy. My kids definitely did, and it's hard to find stuff that the whole family can watch together. But that was a good one. So Lock and Key, I highly recommend it. Yes.
I have to check Lock and Key.
Lock and Key.
There's a History Channel. If you've ever heard of Alone. It comes out every June. It's they put 10 people in the wilderness. They're allowed a certain amount of survival items, and whoever comes out last gets $500,000. And they have to record themselves, so they're
I've heard
out in
it.
the wilderness.
Yeah,
I got hooked on it last year. They're in about I think the 5th or 6th or 7th season. So that was my first binge watch ever. Really good. I don't know. I really enjoy it.
yeah. I've heard about it. I've never actually watched it, but Alone, right? Alone.
Alone, yeah. And the new season should be out in June if the coronavirus didn't spoil it.
All right, that's another one to put on the list for sure. So another show that's for the adults only. I just finished binge watching the 3rd season of it. Is Ozark. That's also on Netflix. Great show.
Okay.
Jason Bateman, highly recommended for the parents out there. All right. Well, I think that's about it. I just, actually, I did want to mention, you and I were chatting over email, but a little background again with, I'm joined here with Charlie and Chris Kawili. Chris is the dad, Charlie's the son. And it was our last name that brought us together. The fact that, one Kawili to another. We have not yet figured out whether we're somehow related. I think if we could go far enough back down the tree, we'll probably find something that connects us all. But at this point, we share the same last name. But we were talking about how many other Kawilis are out there. And we were discussing, for me anyway, the most famous Kawili that I'd seen, other than myself, is I think it's Ariane Kawili. She's a famous chess champion, was living in Australia, I believe. And I always would see news articles and stuff pop up every time I do a Kawili search. But tragically, just in the last couple of weeks, she had just recently married another a European chess champion, if I'm not mistaken. But she recently got into a car accident and just passed away like a week ago or something like that. Right, Chris?
I think so. Just a couple of days, not even a week. Yeah.
Yeah, Ariane. I think it's Arrianne. Ariane Kawili, and it happened in the midst of all this. But I didn't know her. But I'd seen some videos and and had always read up and kind of just her name was very familiar. So when I heard that happen, I was just again, who knows? The three of us might be somehow related down the up the line some way. But it was very sad news to hear about that as well. So we need more good news. We need some good news to come our way, hopefully soon. But hopefully that's what's going to come for us. But well, I hope you guys stay safe. I know you're still trying to get over the virus, but I hope you and your wife do get through this, and that by hopefully next week we'll hear some good news about you returning back to the workforce clean and all good to go. So got my phone blowing up over here. What's up with that? There we go. Anyway, that's probably a sign for me that our time is probably about to wrap up. So thanks for taking the time to talk and share your story with us. And again, I hope things do work out with you and hope for some good news on your front next week.
Thank you. Thanks, Norb. Thanks for having us.
You bet. And Charlie, fight the good fight. Go Hawks, baby.
Yeah.
And keep watching my stuff. I do appreciate that, man. All right.
Yeah.
All right. Take care, you guys, and we will check back with you later. All right. Take care.
Definitely.
All right. Go Hawks. Stay safe, everybody.